Chapter 306. The Enslaved Bride, Part 3. In Africa, 99% of a woman's beauty is measured by the attractiveness of her body. The beauty of her face and hair are not a big issue. Therefore, an African man would look at a woman's side view to decide whether she was beautiful or not. The chest and the buttocks were very important parts of the female body. The bigger buttocks the girl had, the more fire she would kindle in a man's heart. Nonetheless, big buttocks without highly raised breasts were not that important for some tribes. In Sudan, some tribes such as the Baggara loved the breasts more than the buttocks, and hence most of their poems and songs were written in honor of women's breasts. A Baggara city was even named En-Nayed, which means the breasts. One of the Baggara's singers sang a song which said, "The one who comes to the well to draw the water. What I met is her breast. How can I then not love her?" Yet, another famous singer sang, "The breast, which began to pierce out, has made me crazy, and turned all the bachelors in the city crazy too." In El Fasher city, at the province of Darfur, in the house of the Blessed Mu'allana, the Imam of the Grand Mosque, a beautiful girl was seen one day. The girl possessed the most provocative body that the youth of that city had ever seen. Her beauty was unique, not because of her large eyes, afro hairstyle, cacao color, big buttocks, or medium height, but because of her breasts. Her breasts were not like those of other girls, which were too large, too small, or too flat. They shook when she walked, moved up and down when she spoke, came forward and moved backward when she breathed. There was a song, which said, "And the breasts shake, and that is what makes us mad." Every boy went crazy over her. Winning her heart became a cutthroat competition in no time. Nobility, wealth, and relationship played important roles. The competition soon narrowed down to three distinguished families. Three handsome young men from three famous tribes known as Al-Hamar, Al-Mizariya, and Al-Rizagate competed among themselves. At first people believed that the girl was in love with all three boys, for every one of them claimed to have won her heart. The competition and the rumors of winning the girl's favor did not matter. What mattered was Mu'allana, Al-Sheikh Abdul Razak. Everyone believed that he was her guardian, and hence he was the one who would choose between the three families. Religion, politics, and race would play very important roles here. Religiously speaking, Mu'allana might lose half of his congregation if he rejected the Rizagate boy. Politically, the father of the Mizrayan boy had recently won the election and became an MP for El Fasher city. Racially, Al-Hamar was the most pure Arab tribe in the western region of Sudan. Mu'allana was known for his righteousness in every respect except that he had a racial problem. Wherefore, people believed that their religious leader was in a difficult situation. He had to seek divine guidance in order to make a proper choice. As a man who claimed that he feared no creature except his creator, Mu'allana most probably would make a racial selection. No one knew how that beautiful girl landed in Mu'allana's house. She appeared one day inside his residence and some female visitors saw her. Those visitors tried to find out who she was from Mu'allana's wife. The wife swore by the grave of her father that she knew nothing about the girl. One evening her husband came home and brought the girl with him. The blessed Imam told her that the girl was a responsibility on his neck, and if anything bad happened to her he would be accountable for it on the day of judgment. The wife of Mu'allana accepted the responsibility and treated the girl as one of her maidservants. This wife, already 55 years old and had 3 daughters who were married and had borne sons and daughters, and some of their children married and had children too. Another mystery about that girl was that she was not a Muslim and did not pray 5 times in the day. It was obvious to anyone that the girl was a southerner and from the tribe of Dinka. How did Mu'allana agree to keep a Christian girl in his house? Mu'allana himself responded to this question when a group of the faithful asked him. Our blessed Prophet Muhammad, prayers and peace of Allah be upon him, had a Christian girl by the name of Maria the Coptic. Those religious issues were settled as soon as the girl was seen in Mu'allana's house. What was important to the people now, whom among the 3 tribes Mu'allana was going to choose? Al-Awad, Al-Sadiq, and Sharif were the prospective candidates for the beautiful girl who lived in Mu'allana's residence, whose name was Akalaz. Among the three boys, only Sharif's parents were considered by all to be pure Arabs. As regarding their religious commitment, they believed themselves to be Muslims before the Prophet Muhammad began to preach Islam in Arabia. They were known as al-Sharaf, which means the nobles, and every family in Sudan and other Arab countries carrying that honorable family's name, Sharif, its members claimed to be direct descendants of the house of the Prophet of Islam. Concerning courage and bravery, most of the Hambata came from that tribe. Therefore, having such a noble family, Sharif's parents at first refused to accept a Dinka girl to marry their son and hence pollute their son's pure Arabic blood. As love was blind or did not know social barriers, Sharif was prepared to forsake his family and, if need required it, his religious affiliation for the sake of that beautiful girl. He told his parents that he was sick and tired of seeing the girl walking on the street every day with those spear-like breasts and himself merely standing like a woman looking at her. He then swore by Allah that before the next rainfall he would impregnate her. This threat forced the parents to agree for the marriage. Nevertheless, Sharif's parents consented to their son's demand with a condition. Sharif had to cover his vessel before he would cover another family's vessel. Most of the Arab tribes in Sudan believed that a boy was under a divine obligation to marry one of his cousin sisters before he would marry an outsider girl. This custom most probably was borrowed from the example of the Prophet and his cousin sister, Zainab bint Jahash. At first Zainab was married to the Prophet's adopted son, Zayd ibn Muhammad. The biography of the Prophet tells us that one day the Blessed Messenger of Allah went to visit his son. When he reached the house, his son was not there but his daughter-in-law and cousin sister there. Zainab was alone in her house. She was very fair and beautiful. A wind blew and caused the door of the tent to open. The Prophet saw Zainab mutasara, or half-naked, and his heart was changed and he was sexually aroused. Most probably Zainab possessed big buttocks because there was a hadith in which the Prophet was reported to have said, Allah blesses a man who has hairy body and a woman who has big buttocks. A verse from heaven was revealed to the Prophet, which forced Zayd to divorce his wife, and the Prophet to marry her. The morals behind this story aren't clear, but it became a custom to be imitated throughout the long history of Islam. It is a big shame in Sudan if a boy refuses to marry one of his uncle or aunt's daughters. If he fulfilled that condition first, then he was free to make a contract with any outsider girl. Accordingly, Sharif agreed to wed one of his cousin sisters first before he would marry the Dinka girl. Although he agreed to fulfill his obligation, Sharif requested that his parents keep the matter secret. All those matters happened behind closed doors. The Blessed Mu'allana Sheikh Abdul Razak had no knowledge of them until Sharif's family approached him. "Who told you that Ikhlas needs a husband?" asked the Blessed Imam, laughing. "Every woman needs a man, or else how is she going to produce children?" retorted Sharif's father. "Ikhlas is neither my daughter nor I am her guardian. She is kept as a mana or responsibility in my hands. Sooner or later her guardian Wali will come to take her." Mu'allana spread out his hands in a gesture of an apology. Sharif's father shook his head and asked, "Where is her guardian Wali so that I can go to him and ask her hand for my son?" Mu'allana shrugged and answered, "I have no knowledge of who her father is. A man came to my house one night and made me swear by the Holy Quran that I would keep this girl until his return." Sharif's father persisted, "If the man does not come back, what will you do with the girl?" "I will continue to keep her in my house." Mu'allana gestured towards his dwelling. "She is a great help to my wife." Red was creeping into Sharif's father's complexion. "The Blessed Mu'allana, you have not understood my question. I meant to say, if the man never returns, what are you going to do with the girl?" The man spread out his hands in one final plea. "Of course you are not going to keep her unmarried for long. She may be led by her desire and fall in love with one of the boys. The boy would definitely do wrong thing to her if you refuse to give her to him." Mu'allana's calm expression did not change. you are making assumptions. So far I have had no trouble with Ikhlas, and as long as she is in my house I trust Allah to keep her away from the wrong ways. Sharif's father paced back and forth, wringing his hands. Our blessed Imam, the girl has already had trouble with her heart. 3 boys including my son are after her. Mu'allana's face suddenly changed from being calm to being ugly. He screamed at Sharif's father saying, "What do you mean, Sheikh Talha? Do you think Ikhlas is a she-dog that the boys haunt her in my house? You misunderstood my words again, our blessed Imam." Sharif's father wiped his forehead and continued, "I mean to say that 3 boys from 3 noble families like Ikhlas. Of course it is natural for young men to like a good woman like her." The Imam rolled his eyes. There are hundreds of young girls in the city. Why are the boys after Ikhlas only? Sharif's father paused and thought for a moment before answering, "Because Ikhlas is a beautiful girl." The Imam shook his head and held out a dismissing hand, "My brother, I have rejected your son's proposal for Ikhlas, and please do not ask me again about her hand." 6 months had passed since Ikhlas appeared in Mu'allana's house and was seen by the neighbors. No one saw the man who brought her over there. People knew she was serving Mu'allana's wife as a maidservant. Mu'allana was not paying her for her service. In the beginning, she was dressed up normally, but then people began to see her dressing in the Islamic hijab. The neighbors concluded that Mu'allana had converted her to Islam. That was perceived as Mu'allana and his wife really caring about the girl's soul. What bothered the neighbors was the fact that Mu'allana was still keeping the young and beautiful girl in his house without giving her in marriage to someone before the devil would step in. When Ikhlas came to Mu'allana's house, the neighbors called her the girl in Mu'allana's house. That name was slowly changed and she became Mu'allana's daughter. Everyone knew that Mu'allana's 4 daughters were married and had moved to their husbands' houses. One daughter married a lawyer, another a medical doctor, a third one a wealthy merchant, and the 4th one was so favored by Allah that she married a member of the parliament. From his other 3 wives, the blessed Mu'allana also had daughters who married noble men in society. The rumors of Ikhlas' pregnancy began when a neighbor visited Mu'allana's house late one night and saw her in her nightie. It appeared to the visitor that Ikhlas was most probably 4 or 5 months pregnant. The lady could not believe her eyes until she took Ikhlas aside and inquired about her big stomach. When Ikhlas confirmed the pregnancy, the lady ran out of Mu'allana's house as if she had discovered that one of the family members had a contagious disease. She did not even consult Mu'allana's wife about her discovery. She visited 101 houses and passed on the gossip. Every woman who heard the gossip visited another 100 houses and reported the breaking news. Like fire, the news spread around the city in a few days. In less than a week, almost every citizen of El Fasher and the visitors to the city came to know that the daughter of Mu'allana Abdul Razik has been impregnated with an illegitimate child. Some women were so busy passing the news that for 1 week they did not cook food or sweep their houses. Although their dirty clothes piled up in heaps, this still did not hinder their new task. For the first time, the husbands allowed such liberty to their wives. The men too were going around and meeting in groups and discussing the scandal. The neighbors had no trouble in finding out who impregnated the girl. The culprit's own words condemned him. More than 10 men were ready to swear in court that they heard Sharif, the son of Sheikh Talha, when he made his pledge to impregnate the girl before the next rainfall. Exactly 5 months had passed since Sharif made his vow. When Sit al-Nisa, the woman who made the great discovery, questioned Ikhlas, she said by the bone of her tongue that she was 5 months pregnant. Everyone put the blame on Mu'allana. Sharif had tried to come through the front door, but the blessed Mu'allana had shut it in his face. So, Sharif was left with 2 choices, either to kidnap the girl, a thing that no good boy would do, or impregnate her. Now the main concern of the people was what the Mu'allana was going to do. He would not be able to kill the girl because she was a manna on his neck. He would not be able to keep her in his holy abode until she delivered the illegitimate child. The only choice left for the blessed Imam was to force Sharif to marry the girl. Nevertheless, no one in El Fasher ever married a girl whom he impregnated before marriage. Some men, being led by holy wrath, approached Sharif and confronted him with his hideous crime. Sharif admitted that he was mad after the girl and that he made an oath to impregnate her, but he swore by Allah that he had not even shaken hands with her. He further argued that he communicated the fire in his heart towards Ikhlas only through his eyes. He also confessed that in some occasions, being led by the power of the love in his heart and the effect of the liquor he consumed, he had composed some verses of poetry in honor of the girl's beauty. Sharif's denial did not convince the people of his innocence. Instead, they accused and hated him all the more. Those who loved justice and hated iniquity wanted the matter of Sharif and the fallen girl to be brought before the Sharia court so that both the adulterer and the adulteress would be scourged with 100 lashes for their sins, and that should be done in public as the Holy Quran recommended. Those who loved good and hated evil wished that Mu'alana would settle the matter with Sharif's family out of court. In all this, no one was bold enough to inform the blessed Imam. 1 month, 1 week, and 1 day had passed since Sit al-Nisa uncovered the scandal in Mu'alana's house. Every woman used a chart to count the days. Some women used black coals as marker to record the days in their charts, while others asked their children to steal chalk from their schools. Each woman wished that Mu'alana and his wife should not discover the pregnancy until the child was born. For that reason, many of them included in their daily 5 prayers a request to Allah to blind the eyes of the blessed family. Some claimed the promise in the verse of the throne that Allah should build a wall behind and in front of Mu'alana and his wife's eyes. Other women who were less evil wishers called upon the names of some holy dead saints that if Mu'alana and his wife came to know, they would not chase the girl away, but keep her until the baby saw the daylight. Nevertheless, the men had different attitudes and expectations. They wanted to find someone who was bold enough and feared no one except Allah they could send to Mu'alana. Not a single man was ready to carry such ugly news to his religious leader. After a lot of discussion and consultation, the men reached a collective agreement. They learned that one of Mu'alana's sons-in-law, who was an MP, was coming to the city soon. They decided to confront him with the scandal and request that he pass it on to his father-in-law. On the same day the MP arrived from Khartoum, some godly men of Allah visited him, and in a sad and polite way they disclosed to him the shame. The son-in-law got so annoyed that he decided to approach his father-in-law the same day and confront him with the news. Like Umar ibn al-Khattab when he heard that his sister had converted to Islam, the son-in-law stormed out of his house in a rage and headed to his father-in-law. This man had won the election and secured a seat in the parliament due to Mu'alana's preaching and reputation. So, the scandal of Mu'alana might jeopardize his political career and he might be kicked out of his honorable position. To avoid such a recipe for disaster, the MP decided to give Mu'alana 2 choices: either he would kick the girl out of his house and hence let her and her illegitimate child go to hell, or force Sharif to marry her within 24 hours' notice. He was determined not to give room to any argument, withdrawal, or change of those 2 choices. In order to prove to his father-in-law that he was serious and determined in his decision, the MP took 6 men with him as witnesses. Before he stormed out of his house and headed to Dar al-Arqam, the angry politician fastened his long dagger to his left shoulder and carried in his right hand his 25-pound rod. With that heavy rod he would have divided the Red Sea and killed the great dragon if they tried to hinder his way. If he had a sword he would have taken it. The other 6 men had to run to keep up with his pace. Al-Sab was the MP's given name from the day he was born. Sometimes, some lucky people got names that turned out to fit their characters for better or worse when they grew up. Mr. Al-Sab had such a fortunate name. He was the epitome of his name's meaning: tough, rough, serious, always angry, and looking for trouble wherever he went. His presence caused terror and his absence created fear in the hearts of those who hated him. When he walked fast, and when he spoke, he made people listen, and when he hit, he caused terrible pain. Mu'alana Abdul Razak had all of his son-in-law's qualities and surpassed him in learning. He had graduated from the Al-Azhar Al-Sharif University in Cairo, Egypt. Recently that prestigious institute of the Islamic learning became famous of producing Muslim terrorists. Maulana Abdul Razik spent one-third of his life in that great Islamic center of learning before he returned to Sudan to become a Maulana and a great Imam. Maulana claimed to have possessed the same amount of knowledge that the great defender of Islam, Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, had obtained in his time. It would be unfair to call Maulana Sheikh Abdul Razik anything less than the great scholar of the 21st century. He would not be refuted by anyone in his claim that he was more erudite in Islamic sciences, philosophy, and kalam than the Egyptian scholar, al-Sheikh Mutawalli al-Sha'ara'i. Maulana Abdul Razik was tall, huge, and had a head bigger than the rest of his body. This large head was always covered by a white turban and connected to the longest beard that a man could ever grow. His long beard seemed to have surpassed that of the prophets in length and density. His eyes were big and red and his flat nose covered half of his face. He carried a long rosary most of the time. He was like his son-in-law in that he never stepped out of his boundary without carrying a big rod in his hand and fastening a sharp dagger to his left shoulder. No one ever saw Maulana without his head covered except his wives. That day for the first time, people were able to see his head without a turban. Maulana's head without a covering resembled a dalaba. What is a dalaba? I was born and raised in Sudan, spent one-third of my life in India, visited Egypt and Lebanon, and now I live in the West, but I have not seen a dalaba in any of those countries except in Sudan. I doubt whether God actually designed or created that kind of fruit. I also doubt whether that fruit exists in any other country besides Sudan. If the story of Tayr al-Ababil that mentioned in the Quran was true, then those heavenly birds used dalabs as stones to destroy the troops of Abraha, the Ethiopian. I guess Allah was so annoyed with Abraha and his elephant that he displayed his divine vengeance on them in a way to be remembered forever and ever. Most probably, Allah commanded his heavenly birds to pick fruits from hell's trees and stone the invading army. Unfortunately, some of those fruits landed by mistake in Sudan and grew as dalab trees. If you want to curse someone in Sudan, tell him that his head looks like a dalaba. If he does not kill you, then he will never talk to you again. The Sudanese Arabs call dalabs the apples of the slaves. So, when Maulana's head appeared in front of his door that day, it resembled a dalaba. After the two relatives exchanged some religious greetings, Mr. Al-Saab revealed the purpose of his visit. Your daughter will be forbidden to me forever if you do not kick that accursed Dinka girl from your house or force the man who impregnated her to marry her. Maulana's eyes surveyed the other 6 witnesses and he understood that his son-in-law was serious in his 2 conditions. The expression on his face showed that he was in a dilemma. His son-in-law had him in a corner he could not come out of except if some sacrifices were made. Mr. Al-Saab raised up his voice and presented his demands again. There was a moment of silence. Then the Maulana spoke with a low voice, eyes turned down, no one impregnated Ikhlas except me. Mr. Al-Saab stared at Maulana, his mouth open, eyes wide. But you have already 4 wives. How can you sleep with another woman without divorcing one of your wives? Maulana leaned against his door frame and said, I do not need to marry Ikhlas because she is my Jariya. When Maulana and Mr. Al-Saab exchanged those few sentences, the other 6 men fell one after another like pillars of salt that melted when the rain poured on them. They could not believe their ears. Their religious leader had impregnated a girl without marrying her.